In a Spanish city, MI6 is on a high-stakes mission to capture a top-tier mafia kingpin, but the criminal is so powerful that he eliminates the agents before they even realize what's happening. The story quickly escalates as this mafia boss turns his sights on the President of the United States and NATO leaders, leaving everyone wondering who he is and why he's seeking revenge on such a massive scale. The recently released, action-packed film Heads of State unravels these questions, and it opens with a journalist named Noel covering Spain's famous festival, La Tomatina. Almost immediately, we learn that Noel is actually an MI6 agent working with the CIA to track a Russian arms dealer named Victor, who poses a major threat to the US. Just like the CIA operates in America, MI6 runs similar covert operations in the UK, and the two agencies have teamed up for this mission, led by Noel. After some investigation, Noel's team spots Victor, but they also notice several lookalikes mingling around the festival. To identify the real target, Noel instructs his team to access an American behavioral analysis program called Alone, allowing them to analyze body language and zero in on Victor. Alone is actually a powerful surveillance program capable of monitoring people worldwide, performing both facial recognition and body language analysis on anyone. When Noel's team requests access, the US Department grants them just a 1-minute window. But things take a sudden turn when Noel spots a suspicious van entering the festival, something that shouldn't be there. The moment his team receives the program's access code, attackers strike, and from a distance, a sniper starts picking off his agents one by one, while ground forces join the assault, wiping out the entire team in an instant. Amid the chaos, Noel notices the mysterious van parked next to theirs, where his two technician assistants were working on the program. That's when a killer named Ogla emerges from the van, killing the technicians, and a hacker named Arthur appears, beginning to copy all Asaloni data from the system. Meanwhile, Noel fights through the remaining enemies, realizing that Victor has set a trap to steal the program. By the time he reaches the van, it becomes clear that the killer and the scientist have already hacked into Asaloni, forcing Noel to confront the grim reality that the program, and all its sensitive data, is now in enemy hands. If the program is reactivated, it can be instantly hacked by the enemy, which puts everyone at extreme risk. When Noel sees the killer surrender, a thug suddenly shoots him with a shotgun, sending him flying to the ground. The attackers then blow up Noel's van, assuming he's dead, and leave the scene, believing their mission is a success. The story then shifts to the United Kingdom, where Prime Minister Sam is watching news coverage about the new US President Will, an actor whose fame spans the entire country. Sam has a scheduled meeting with Will the next day at a NATO conference in Italy, intending to brief him on the Spanish mission, despite personally disliking Will and doubting an actor's ability to serve as president. Still, as it's a joint mission between the two countries, Sam reluctantly agrees to cooperate. The next day, Will arrives at an Italian palace with his family, explaining to his daughter that NATO exists to maintain global peace, prevent conflicts, and intervene wherever war threatens stability. Meanwhile, Will's wife urges him to speak to Sam respectfully, recalling that their last encounter had devolved into a tense argument. Sam himself harbors some resentment toward Will, since during the election he had supported Will's opposition party. At that moment, Will's assistant, Katie, reminds him to smooth things over with Sam, encouraging a respectful dialogue, and then explains that their previous joint mission with MI6 to capture Victor had ended in disaster. Every agent from both agencies had been killed. Because of that failure, Will and Sam now have to publicly address the mission on the world stage. Meanwhile, Sam learns from his assistant that 10 years ago, NATO attempted a similar operation to eliminate Victor, which also failed, resulting in the death of Sam's brother, and no one knows where Victor had been since. Neither Sam nor Will likes dealing with the press, but because this conference is officially organized under NATO, they're forced to face the journalist. The event itself is ostensibly about a new US nuclear power plant, but both men are nervous in case any questions about the Victor mission arise. When they arrive at the palace and the press conference begins, they exchange polite, somewhat exaggerated compliments. But Sam seriously instructs Will that if the media asks about the mission, they must deflect the questions with vague answers, keeping the details strictly off-limits. Next, Will and Sam agree to focus publicly on the nuclear power plant, stepping forward to address the press. Most of the reporters present happen to be huge fans of Will's acting career, bombarding him with questions about his movies rather than serious policy issues. When a journalist eventually asks about the failed mission, Sam quickly shuts it down, explaining that they cannot discuss it because keeping it secret is crucial to prevent their enemies from gaining any information. Another reporter then brings up rumors about a US program that allegedly monitors the entire world, prompting Will to skillfully deflect the question, claiming that his film work gave him insight into how real agents think. Sam, visibly annoyed, snaps back, reminding Will that he too was once a British agent, and questioning why Will makes it seem like he has special knowledge. Their argument escalates in front of the press, forcing them to end the briefing abruptly, leaving the media with the impression that there is no friendship or cooperation between the two countries. To manage the fallout, their assistants advise them to travel together on the same plane to the NATO conference, creating the appearance of unity and mutual respect. Will and Sam both resist the idea, seeing it as unnecessary theater, but their aides warn that failing to display such public camaraderie could negatively affect their political standing in upcoming elections. Reluctantly, Will and Sam agree to travel together on the same plane to demonstrate unity and protect their political interests. Meanwhile, we see Victor seething with anger at his gang members. He had hired a world-class sniper for the mission, intending for no one in his crew to get hurt, yet the sniper himself ended up injured. Infuriated, Victor tortures him brutally on the spot, ultimately killing him, which immediately establishes that Victor tolerates no mistakes in his operations. On the American president's plane, we see Sam looking at photos of all the agents who died during the mission, and he reacts strongly when he comes across Noel's image, hinting at a deeper personal connection that will be revealed later. At the same time, Will is spending time with his family, and Sam approaches them, engaging warmly with Will's wife and daughter. Sam learns that Will's daughter is a huge Harry Styles fan and promises her tickets to an upcoming concert, a gesture that surprises Will and leaves a positive impression, since Sam is usually serious and stern. This moment also subtly highlights Sam's internal conflict. He has always disliked Will, believing that an actor like him rose to the presidency largely due to his fan base, an easy path compared to Sam's own arduous, knowledge-driven climb within the intelligence world. The contrast between Sam's rigid, disciplined approach and Will's celebrity-backed ascent adds a layer of tension and complexity to their uneasy partnership. At that moment, chaos erupts aboard the plane carrying Will and Sam. A waiter on board systematically kills the staff and transmits the plane's location to Victor's team. Simultaneously, we see Ogla on a separate aircraft, coordinating with her team to converge on the president's plane. Sam and Will notice another plane ascending alongside theirs, a seemingly impossible maneuver since their exact location should have been undetectable by radar. Suddenly, the killer's assault begins, and flames break out across the president's plane. The waiter single-handedly kills the remaining crew, sets all the parachutes on fire, and then escapes by grabbing one for himself. Amid the inferno, an agent leads Sam and Will to the rear of the plane, which is still relatively intact, and discovers two functional parachutes amidst the burning one. Without hesitation, he gives the parachutes to the presidents, informs them of a safe house in Poland, and bids them farewell before pushing them out of the plane. 2 hours later, the world learns of a devastating attack on the aircraft carrying the US and UK presidents, in which all onboard security personnel and protectors are killed. Victor, watching the news, is elated at the success of his assault. Meanwhile, it's revealed through broadcasts that Carl has been appointed acting US president and is set to depart shortly for the upcoming NATO summit, stepping in as the crisis unfolds. Meanwhile, the United Kingdom has appointed a new acting prime minister, though very little is revealed about them. The next scene shifts to Sam and Will navigating the dense forests of Poland after their parachute escape. Sam lands safely, but Will ends up caught in a tree, prompting Sam to remark that the killer's infiltration of their plane must have involved someone from the inside. Will suggests they pause for a moment to avoid being discovered, hoping that if anyone comes to investigate the wreckage, they might be rescued. Sam, however, warns that because the plot to assassinate them clearly involved insiders, they can't trust anyone and must rely only on themselves. He insists they head straight to the safe house that the agent had directed them to. Realizing the urgency, Will begins trying to call his wife to let her know he's alive, but Sam forbids it, explaining that any signal could give their enemies their exact location. He even forces Will down from the tree and destroys both their phones to ensure they are untraceable. After trekking for some time, they reach the site of the plane crash and confirm that no one survived. Convinced that Victor is behind the attack, they move quickly toward the safe house, determined to uncover who else was involved in the assassination plot. Meanwhile, in another scene, Carl is shown meeting with his country's top officials, stepping into his role as acting president in the wake of the catastrophic strike. Once Carl activates the Assaloni program, he uses his voice and iris scan to bring it online, giving his country the ability to monitor every corner of its territory. His reasoning is that, in the aftermath of the recent attack, national security is at unprecedented risk, and he wants complete oversight to safeguard against further threats. Meanwhile, on the other side, Victor and Arthur are already scheming. As the new security update rolls out, they see an opportunity. Arthur exploits a critical loophole, using his technical brilliance to hack into the entire server. With the program fully compromised, Victor suddenly has access to every piece of sensitive information stored within Asaloni and can leak it to the world at will. True to form, he immediately publishes classified American missions and political secrets online, sparking panic and mistrust among nations. Suddenly, the global balance of power is exposed. Alliances, hidden agendas, and covert operations are all laid bare, creating widespread tension and prompting countries to question their commitments to NATO. Governments begin quietly planning to withdraw and restructure their own forces independently. Meanwhile, we return to Will and Sam, who spot a group of young men celebrating nearby, along with a vehicle they could use to escape. Just as they move toward the car to get away, the youths notice them, setting the stage for another tense encounter. Will initially wonders if the young men might recognize him, either from his movies or because he's the US president, but quickly realizes they have no idea who he or Sam are. Instead, they brand them as thieves and attack, forcing a brutal hand-to-hand fight. Sam manages to protect Will long enough, but after a prolonged struggle, both of them are exhausted and on the brink of defeat. Just then, the boy's guardian arrives, intervening to save them. She asks where they want to go, and Will replies that they need to reach a safe house in Belarus. Understanding the urgency, the woman gives them a lift, and as night falls, they arrive safely in Belarus. Will attempts to gift her a valuable watch in gratitude, but she politely declines, pointing out that the presidents already know who they are. Will as the US president and Sam as the UK prime minister, and assures him she won't tell anyone about them. She wishes Sam good luck and departs, leaving the two leaders to continue their journey. Once at the safe house, an agent named Martin greets them warmly, embracing Will in relief, having feared he might have been killed. Meanwhile, Arthur, using the Asaloni program, confirms through the safe house's security cameras that both Will and Sam are still alive and hiding safely, setting the stage for the next phase of their mission, while Victor's plans continue to loom in the background. As soon as the information reaches Victor, he dispatches Ogla and her team toward the safe house. Meanwhile, Martin informs Will and Sam that someone has hacked the Asaloni program, leaking all its data to the world. This breach has shaken trust in NATO, triggered international tension, and could potentially spark a third world war. Will suggests alerting NATO that they are still alive, but Sam immediately shoots down the idea, pointing out that anyone who betrayed them could send agents to finish the job. Their priority becomes identifying the traitor within their ranks. At that moment, they spot Ogla's team arriving at the safe house. Through Martin's cameras, they see the attackers approaching, and he quickly equips Will and Sam with weapons while showing them an escape route. Martin sets up traps throughout the area, taking out several of Ogla's soldiers, and then uses the cameras to precisely shoot through walls, impressing both Sam and Will with his ingenuity. However, Ogla quickly figures out Martin's trick, destroying the martyr and wounding him with gunfire before turning her focus to Sam and Will. A tense shootout ensues, but the two leaders manage to evade her by slipping into an elevator. As they reach the lower level, they realize the danger isn't over. Two more soldiers are waiting for them, ready to continue the assault. At that critical moment, a car speeds in, narrowly saving Will and Sam from certain death. To their astonishment, the driver is none other than Noel, the MI6 agent, revealing that he too has survived. Sam is stunned, and Will quickly realizes that the two of them share a prior history. When Will asks how they know each other, Noel explains that they trained together in the military. Sam presses further, asking how Noel managed to survive all this time, and Noel reveals that a level 5 protective jacket saved him from the gunfire during the initial ambush. Since then, he's been operating undercover, hunting down the killers in various disguises. Afterward, Noel detonates a bomb, obliterating the compromised safe house, and whisking Will and Sam away to safety. During the escape, Will asks Noel why Victor has been relentlessly pursuing them. Noel explains that the nuclear power plant story they recently publicized in the media has roots going back a decade. Victor's brother originally started the project, and Victor later acquired nuclear reactor components from him to complete it. When NATO caught wind of this, Victor's brother's mafia connections led them to suspect that Victor and his family were secretly developing a nuclear weapon, prompting a mission to eliminate them. Though his brother was killed in that operation, Victor survived, and from that moment on, he harbored a deep-seated hatred for NATO. His goal now is nothing less than the total destruction of every country operating under NATO's umbrella. At this point, Will and Sam still don't know who betrayed them and caused the plane crash. Will starts to suspect Sam's assistant, but Sam reassures him that he fully trusts his own aide and instead suggests that Will's assistant might be the traitor, especially since they had pressured Will to join Sam on the plane that day. Will begins to consider Sam's words seriously, shifting his suspicion toward his own aide. To move forward, Noel gets them onto a moving train heading to the NATO summit, but their location is quickly tracked by Arthur, who deliberately withholds this information from Victor, hinting that he might have his own hidden agenda. The next morning, Sam wakes to see Will still asleep and takes the opportunity to talk with Noelle, during which it's revealed that Noelle is actually Sam's ex-girlfriend. They briefly revisit the past. Sam apologizes for breaking up with her selfishly, but Noelle insists now is not the time for personal matters. They need to focus on the mission. When Will wakes, he asks about their breakup, and Sam explains that while they were together, he ran for president, aiming to change the world, which Noelle had never supported, ultimately driving a wedge between them. Their personal history fuels tension between Sam and Noelle, ultimately contributing to their breakup. Meanwhile, on the moving train, Arthur arrives with an accomplice and orders them to surrender in their compartment. Seizing a moment, Arthur's partner fires at Sam and Will, but before dying, the partner shoots Arthur, leaving him severely injured. Noelle rushes in, demanding an explanation, and Arthur reveals his story. Before meeting Victor, his life had been normal, but Victor kidnapped him and forced him into committing violent acts for his criminal empire. Arthur explains that Victor's obsession with domination has already led to countless deaths, and he refuses to let anyone else perish. He admits that someone on their side is secretly working with Victor, though he doesn't know who, and provides a location along with access to his supercomputer so they can uncover the real traitor within their ranks. Handing the codes to Will, Arthur instructs them to exit the train before the next station, where more enemies lie in wait, and then he dies on the spot. Will, Sam, and Noelle leap from the train, narrowly escaping. In the next scene, Carl is seen meeting with the presidents of major nations, urging them to support NATO, only to be rebuffed by every country, signaling a fractured global alliance and the growing chaos Victor has set in motion. By this point, it becomes clear that America had been secretly surveilling every country and even manipulating who would become president through the Assoloni program. Adding to the global tension, nations are preparing to officially withdraw from NATO the following day. Meanwhile, Sam, Will, and Noelle reach the location Arthur had indicated and discover a hidden vault so cleverly concealed that no one would suspect its existence from a distance. Inside, Noelle finds Arthur's supercomputer, but before they can fully assess it, Victor's henchmen arrive on the scene. Sam immediately decides to fight back, taking on the attackers while Noelle uses the computer to uncover the true traitor, Will's own assistant, Katie, who had been secretly communicating with Victor. Will is stunned and furious, unable to comprehend that someone so close to him could betray him. As Sam fights, detonating bombs to take out several henchmen and delay reinforcements, Victor's other operative attempts to drag the vault outside. Sam begins cutting the ropes, but time is running out. Noelle and Will manage to get the vault lifted out of the building by helicopter, but Victor's operative launches a missile at Sam, causing a massive explosion that seemingly kills him. In a panic, Noelle and Will watch as Sam is caught in the blast, and Will, fearing for both their lives, jumps with Noelle onto the rooftop of another building, narrowly escaping the destruction while the world outside edges closer to chaos. Will and Noelle are both devastated by what they believe is Sam's death, grief weighing heavily on them as chaos unfolds. Meanwhile, Victor's operative reports all the events to his boss, but before he can act further, a message arrives that changes everything. Victor, frustrated that Noelle couldn't kill Will, has instead eliminated the two operatives from the helicopter and gone off to exact revenge directly on his superior. The next morning, as the NATO summit begins, Will receives a call from Carl warning him to watch out for Katie, revealing that she was the real traitor in their midst. Carl also directs Will to send his armored vehicle to the summit so he can intervene and restore order. Soon the vehicle arrives and they discover a henchman, Carl himself, was the true double agent, the one using Katie's phone to communicate with Victor and colluding to try to kill Will so Carl could ascend to the presidency. Seizing the opportunity, Noelle attacks the henchman, and together with Will, they engage in a fierce fight. At that moment, Victor sends multiple vehicles and operatives, including Olga, to ambush them. Suddenly, a fire truck crashes into the attackers, destroying one of their vehicles, and inside it, they see Sam alive, revealing that before the explosion, Sam had climbed down a rope from the train via a stairwell and made his way directly to this location, having survived against all odds. Seeing Sam alive fills Will and Noelle with relief and renewed determination, and Sam quickly leaps from the fire truck into their armored vehicle. Meanwhile, Noelle and Will fight fiercely, throwing the remaining henchmen off the vehicle while Noelle urges Sam to drive straight to the NATO summit, signaling that their bond has fully mended. Despite the attackers firing RPGs that set the vehicle ablaze, the bulletproof car remains intact, and Sam expertly navigates it through the crowded summit area, forcing the enemies to retreat. As Carla begins her speech, Sam and Will intervene, declaring that both their nation's presidents are still alive and that no country should exit NATO, warning that a terrorist like Carla in power would guarantee perpetual conflict. Will emphasizes the importance of unity among nations to maintain global peace, But Carla retorts that someone like him in charge would never manage a country effectively, and questions why small nations should even take guidance under NATO. At that tense moment, Victor arrives by helicopter, shooting Carla dead, while his remaining forces open fire chaotically, plunging the NATO summit into a full-scale battlefield, with gunfire and explosions turning the diplomatic gathering into utter chaos. Sam and Will take cover under a table, using the chaos to help evacuate everyone else from the NATO summit, as bullets and explosions rage around them. Meanwhile, Noel arrives and fights through Victor's soldiers, finally cornering Victor. But when Victor's loyal henchman intervenes, Noel has to turn his attention to the henchman instead, leaving Victor a temporary escape. Spotting Victor fleeing, Sam and Will give chase, only to encounter a monstrous enforcer, taking heavy hits before finally defeating it. Noel struggles with another opponent, but outsmarts him by throwing him down a stairwell, fatally breaking his neck. As they reach the upper level, Victor boards his helicopter in a desperate bid to escape. Sam and Will quickly devise a plan. Knowing Victor is armed with a single arrow, Sam volunteers to take the hit, while Will targets the helicopter. Sam charges, drawing Victor's fire, while Will hurls a statue into the helicopter's rotor blades, instantly disabling it. The helicopter crashes violently onto the street in a massive explosion, eliminating Victor once and for all. 2 months later, the scene shifts to a calm moment. Sam and Will meet in a restaurant, finally able to breathe after the chaos, reflecting on the ordeal and the bond forged through their shared survival. At that moment, Will asks Sam about Noel, and Sam explains that she's off on a secret mission somewhere on the other side of the world. He then gives Will tickets to a Harry Styles concert so he can take his family, which makes Will genuinely happy, thanking Sam for keeping his promise to his daughter. Outside the restaurant, a crowd of journalists is seen reporting on the renewed friendship between Will and Sam. Meanwhile, Martin, who also survived the chaos, brags about how he helped save the 2 presidents, trying to impress some women, though they clearly don't believe him and walk away. Just then, Noel arrives, telling Martin, "I believe you and I have a mission for you," wrapping up this thrilling story. The film ends hinting that a sequel might be on the way,